Hello, I know I'm doing another video right after the last one. I had a good night's sleep and I listened again because I was concerned about the content in that video, in my video. And then this morning I listened to it again and I thought, oh my gosh, I completely forgot to acknowledge a huge transgression on my part in my marriage with my first husband, and a way I acted out, and I had affairs. I had this idea we'd have an open marriage, so we did that. However, um, I also later on, when I realized that he wasn't happy with that, he was going along with it to please me, but it was not what he wanted. So then I went ahead and I had affairs later, in the later years, which when I finally said I was leaving him after 26 years, 25 years or something, then he started to fall apart and ended up having a psychotic break, and after a few years took his life. So that's that progression. So I completely forgot, and it's interesting that I forgot, that in my criticism of him being being addicted to marijuana and then taking his life, that of course I played my part in our marriage. As always happens in relationships, there's always two people, and acted out. I understand from my pain and my inability to be real and clear and honest and to leave the marriage. However, I did that. And so I have to confess to that, to my acting out. And of course I feel guilty about that. And I realize, oh, I'm digressing, but I forgot to mention the reason why I called my video messy yesterday, and several times I used that word because people watching it would go, well, what's messy about this? I wasn't yelling and shouting and emoting really. But for me, I was being very messy because my dad, my first husband, and my brother, I protected them. I wanted to protect them. They're like my kids. And much as I had other feelings, I've always done positivity and made excuses. I've made excuses, and they're in a lot of pain. And yesterday, I publicly came out. It was like secrets, although my children know about my affairs. It is public knowledge among my family and friends. However, this is much more public, and acknowledge my own part. And also, that's not the point. It is a point, but the big point is actually being mad publicly at my dad and my first husband and my brother. And I want to clarify that it's not that I'm mad at them for how they behaved and the things they did, because I too have acted badly, acted out with my own pain. But it's that there is no justice. It's that two of them are dead, and my brother is so sick with his alcoholism and not safe and unpredictable. So I'm left with this messy. I'm left with, I feel stuck, and I know that these are processes that humans go through when they don't get justice, when someone does something horrible to you or a family member or a child. and you don't get justice, because often we don't. And I know that justice is not actually, cannot undo what was done, but I guess I long for them to stand in front of me and acknowledge their part and to say they're so sorry from the bottom of their heart without being defensive and making excuses. And I too can own and would own the part I played. And you might say, this is another piece that I haven't shared. With my dad, you could say, well, I was a child. I was definitely a victim. And I was, but the thing here is that as I've said, I had 6 children in my first marriage, and I let my dad move in, and my mum, and I felt very protective of them, and practically speaking, it helped. I charged them a low rent, so it helped pay off the mortgage, and so I let my dad move in. Now, I didn't have my memories back. I only got my memories back 12 years ago when I was in my late 50s. I'm now 60. So I didn't know. I thought it was normal to be scared of your dad. I thought my feelings were normal. I was unconscious. And so, of course, he had access to my children, and he did have access to them. And so I have not forgiven myself for that either. And so the truth with yesterday, one, I had affairs in my marriage, acted out. And two, I let my dad move in to my home where I had many children and young children. So there we go. I needed to set the record straight. I knew sooner or later some of my children, all of them, eventually will watch my videos. They're going to go, Mom, you forgot something major, really major about your marriage to Dad and what happened. And not that they blame me, however. So this is messy again in that when bad things are done to people, and what do we do with that? How do we be okay with what one cannot be okay with? And there are situations where one is completely without blame. Obviously, as a child, I was completely without blame, but as an adult, I was not. As far as my children being sexually abused by my dad, and my first husband taking his life, I played a part in all that. A big part. Big part. So I also understand yesterday I was in judgment as well of these people, and of people that cross the lines and behave in ways that are really hurtful. And of course, the truth is, underneath it all, I'm in judgment of them. Truth is, I am in judgment of myself. And I have not forgiven myself, and I am stuck in that place. So what I do with that is, as I talked about, the delicious, is finding steps that where I can allow myself some grace, can allow myself, let myself off the hook a little bit, and I'm slowly learning that. And this is besides the point again, but my first husband, when we're talking about highly sensitive nervous systems that act out, he was a very gifted musician and artist, and highly sensitive, and couldn't cope with, one, the craziness of being involved with me, who's a very powerful person, and I wanted to raise the children my way. We were a home learning family. I decided the kids wouldn't go to school. I had the last 2 at home. and extended breastfeeding and family bed and attachment parenting and so on and so on. And not that he was against any of that, but he simply wanted to be an artist and a musician. And I'd really complicated his life. And I was not willing to compromise my beliefs or to ask his. I didn't want to hear, I didn't want to give him a say in what we did, how we raised our children. I knew that I was being very controlling, but there we go. So I will end it there, but I had to do another video, and to be honest, and looking at my piece of paper here, and confess. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Bye.